Chapter 1. The Draft Gamble. Start with the headline you've seen everywhere. Chinedu Okorie, Henry Visar, and R.J. Evans have all confirmed they're staying in the NBA draft. 3 names, 3 decisions, 1 trend. But the framing in most reports misses the bigger picture. This isn't just about 3 players betting on themselves. It's about a structural change in how college talent now weighs the cost of waiting. A decade ago, returning to school was the safe play. Build your stock, refine your game, come back stronger. That logic has eroded. The financial reality of the modern NBA, combined with the explosion of NIL money during college eligibility, has flipped the equation. Now, staying in the draft isn't a gamble. Leaving it might be. Because every year you wait, another wave of international prospects and one-and-done freshmen reshape your draft position. The names you saw confirm their decision this week are doing what the data tells them to do. Lock in the rookie-scale contract. Get on an NBA development staff. Start the clock on your second contract, which is where the real money lives. The headlines call this a personal choice. It's not. It's a market response. And the teams paying attention aren't just scouting these players. They're scouting the pattern. Expect more announcements like this. Expect the college game to keep bleeding talent earlier, and expect front offices to keep recalibrating what a draft pick is even worth when the pool keeps changing shape underneath them. Chapter 2. Arsenal's European Window. Now pivot to Europe, because what's happening with Arsenal tells you something the Premier League narrative is hiding. UEFA has handed Arsenal an early Champions League final boost, a surprise decision the headlines are framing as a fortunate break. It's not luck. It's leverage. Mikel Arteta's project has reached a point where logistical, scheduling, and administrative decisions are starting to bend in their favor. That's what happens when a club becomes a fixture in the latter stages of the competition. You move from underdog to stakeholder. The reporting treats this as a one-off boost. The reality is it's a status signal. Arsenal are now being treated like a club UEFA expects to be in the conversation, not one hoping to gatecrash it. And that changes everything. It changes how their fixtures get scheduled. It changes their travel windows. It changes the small percentages that compound over a knockout run. Compare that to where they were 3 seasons ago, out of the competition entirely, watching from the Europa League. The on-pitch progress has been obvious. The off-pitch progress is what nobody is talking about. Because the Champions League isn't just won on the grass, it's won in the margins around it. Squad depth, recovery time, travel logistics, and yes, federation decisions. Arsenal aren't just contending anymore. They're being treated like contenders. And that's a different kind of advantage entirely. Chapter 3. Chimaev's Hard Lesson. Cross over to combat sports, because the Khamzat Chimaev story is doing something interesting in the discourse. Khalil Roundtree called Chimaev's UFC 328 loss hard to watch. That's the quote everyone is running with. But strip away the sympathy, and you've got something more important. A peer-level acknowledgement that the Chimaev myth has run into the wall every undefeated prospect eventually meets. For years, Chimaev was sold as the next inevitable champion. Untouchable wrestling, brutal finishing instinct, a highlight reel that made matchmakers nervous. But hype is not a fight plan. And UFC 328 showed what happens when an opponent has the time, the camp, and the tape to actually prepare. The reaction from fighters like Roundtree matters because it's measured. It's not gloating. It's recognition that the gap between dominant prospect and elite champion is wider than the marketing suggests. Every era of MMA has its untouchable name that eventually gets touched. Chimaev just joined that list. And the smartest fighters in his division will be studying that footage on loop. The real question now isn't whether he bounces back. Fighters at his level usually do. It's whether the aura survives. Because in mixed martial arts, the psychological edge a prospect carries into a cage is worth as much as the skill itself. Lose that, and every future opponent walks in believing the blueprint exists. That's the real cost of UFC 328, not the loss. The blueprint. Chapter 4. The Pistons' Quiet Statement. Which brings us back to the NBA and the story that closes this loop. Pistons versus Cavs, Game 6. The headlines are giving you the channel, the stream, the tip-off time. What they're not giving you is the context that makes this game matter beyond the bracket. The Detroit Pistons being in a Game 6 of a playoff series is itself the story. This is a franchise that spent years as the league's punchline, the cautionary tale every front office quoted when they